Just attended my first organized team activity, OTAs as they're called, this past week on Tuesday at Paul Brown Stadium, outside on the practice fields, and a few observations. Number one, the Bengals had 100% attendance, a rarity in the National Football League. A lot of guys are basically deciding that they're not going to work out. They're going to work on their own away from the organization, Players Association, Management Council, and the union and Management Council working with each other to try to figure out a best way to handle how physical things should be and all things of that nature. So a lot of players have decided not to participate. Well, the Bengals had 100% participation, which I think is a very good sign because they're coming off a 4-11-1 season. They want to get together as quickly as they possibly can and start bonding as a football team. You know, there's only so much you can do virtually with Zooms. Get out on the football field, get in a huddle together, look at each other in the eye, hear the communication, break the huddle, fulfill your assignment, team building, everything that goes along with it. That was observation number one, the fact that everybody showed up to that first organized team activity. Observation number two was they did minimize the physicality of the organized team activity. And I think that was basically the league has probably advised them to do so, since there is a little bit of a disagreement as such going on as to how strenuous organized team activities should be. They never ran any team offense against defense. Everything was drills. Everything was when the offense was running, their scheme was against air, defense against air. They never went against each other. And I think part of that reason is even when you're in shorts and jerseys, when you're running the football between the tackles, there's a lot of bodies that can get tangled up, and you can get feet tangled up and stepped on and all these sort of things. Avoid those injuries, avoid ankle injuries, avoid knee injuries, avoid guys getting caught in piles awkwardly and things that even can take place when there's not full contact. So I do think that they're listening to what the league has to say and adjusting what they're doing in these organized team activities accordingly to prevent injury as such. So that was a little bit of an observation. As organized team activities progress, they may start to do a little bit of team. And the final observation, and probably the most important observation, was watching Joe Burrow throw the football. Joe's been throwing for a while. He's been throwing to equipment guys, trainers, strength and conditioning people, but he's been throwing the football. Now he's out there on the football field, shorts, game jersey, or I should say practice jersey and helmet, and he's throwing to teammates. And that was encouraging. Joe was excited about it. His teammates were uber excited about it, and he looked pretty darn good. I mean, I think his footwork, I didn't notice any hitch steps, false steps, no hitching to get along whatsoever. He went through all of his mechanics perfectly, not favoring that knee whatsoever. He said it's about 85% strength compared to his other leg, the right leg. But he really threw the ball well, threw it extremely accurately, which is his calling card. There's no question about it. But his velocity looked a little bit amped up to me. And I think it's he's working so hard on his overall body and the strength and conditioning of it, his core, his hips. It's all stronger. He's put on some good weight. He's redistributed some body weight. I don't think he's heavier, but I think his muscle mass and his percentage of mass on his body's probably increased. And it's showing in the velocity of the throwing of the football. And he admitted to that. He feels the same way in the Zoom presser when we talked about it. So that was good to see. Early on, there was some dust and rust with Jamar Chase, and to be understood, but they picked it up very quickly. They got on the same page quickly. They stayed late after practice to work on it, and that's a tribute to both of them and both of their work ethics. They're friends as well as teammates at LSU, and I think the bond between them is going to be extraordinary. And I do think that you're going to have to almost put some reins on them and pull them back. You know, those guys want to work. They both love the grind of playing football. There's no question about it. Joe didn't take any snaps under center. He all shotgun snaps. But again, his footwork was great. And the one thing that they did make sure of was even when there was a back in the backfield, like Joe Mixon was on his hip in the backfield out of the shotgun, they would motion him out of the backfield to make sure that there were no other feet around Joe Burrow's feet. If a bad snap came rolling back there or whatever the case may be, give him as much space as possible. You don't want to have any situation where Joe Burrow is facing any kind of a push in his pocket, or people motioning in front of him or behind him or around him. Right now, it's all going to be make it as simple as possible and just let Joe Burrow get the feel of throwing the football once again, and he's doing a really good job of that. I think he's on schedule. I think he's probably ahead of schedule. The interesting decision is going to be, will he play at all in the preseason? Joe mentioned in the Zoom presser that he might want to play a couple of series in the preseason just to get all of the rust knocked off. Now, will Mike Brown, the coaching staff, and the entire organization feel the same way? I guess that's to be determined. There's a lot of days left before that has to be decided. But the early return on Joe Burrow's performance was a good one, I thought, and I think it really gave the entire football team a lift, and definitely Joe Burrow's spirits were very, very high when that practice ended. And the good thing is he wanted to make sure that he felt okay after practice before he did the Zoom pressers, and he did. He felt good, got on and talked about it. So it's all good. And he's about 85% strength, like we talked about earlier, and avoiding any major setbacks or minor setbacks or any setbacks at all. I think we're going to see him on opening day, and that'll all be good. And we'll keep you posted as organized team activities proceed. They got 3 days of organized team activities next week, and then the following week they have the mandatory mini camp of 4 days. So the OTAs are voluntary, but like we talked about at the start of this little episode, everybody showed up, 100% attendance. That, my friends, is a good thing.